So this project started with last summer here at the CEO. I ran a study comparing how students will design for pets, but the comparison being a robotic pet. In this case, Pleo was used, which I will describe later, and then in the control case, just a plastic turtle. And what I found was the plastic turtle encouraged a lot more imagination play. The students would pick up the turtle, move them around, project their voice onto it. And that's kind of expected in terms of play, but when it came to the engineering testing, and they were testing their car, they put the turtle on it and then put on their turtle voice and said, "Oh, I love it!" And then they said, well, that's not as much testing as there's projecting. Well, there is value to that. I was really interested in what was happening with the robots, and the students were really engaging this exploratory, collaborative experience and try to figure out what was happening with the robot. And so one of my favorite moments was when two students who hadn't worked together before first were introduced to Pleo. They immediately both had their hands on him, petting and feeling him, and said, "Oh, Pleo," and they identified Pleo's not happy about something. We need to find out what it is, and they worked together to do so. They said, "Oh, let's try feeding him. Oh no, I tried that leaf. Let's try this one. Oh, maybe he needs to be pet." And this is an amazing collaborative experience that was incredibly socially engaging that I saw a lot of potential in. One of the drawbacks of actually that's indicative of that specific interaction is Pleo's, as the robot was, his behaviors are pretty unclear. So despite this effort to make Pleo happy, to give Pleo something to please him, there was no aha moment of like, oh yes, this works. And that's the difference if you are babysitters or parents taking care of a child. If you have a crying baby and you give him a bottle and they fall asleep, that is an amazing feeling and you're so happy about it. But if you're trying all these different things and there's no moment where you say, oh, I did this and it worked, it becomes much more of a frustrating experience, and these students just lost momentum and stopped interacting with the dinosaur because nothing they were doing was working. And the second thing, in more of the educational aspect of it, is the robot was really distracting. The robot constantly runs a background behavior even when there's no user input. So even after they're designing and they're in their build phase where they really need to focus on building in kind of this the hour-long session, the moment they would hit a wall, they see Pleo moving in the corner, say, "Oh, I want to go play," and they would get up and lose focus on the task. So I wanted to see, well, what can we do to make this a little more, a less distracting entity. As a follow-up to this project, I went to Panama to work at the Caspen School with Jordy and some of his team at LaSalle, and it was a totally different experience because the students I was working with previously were higher functioning. These students were much lower functioning. They used Pleo in an entirely different way and had very different learning goals, and so that posed the design question to me: is there one robotic system that can be designed to reach kids all over the spectrum, and in a way that's intentional? Yes, even you can see this picture, Pleo was involved in that study, but they used him in a way that was so different and unintentional from his initial design. I wanted to incorporate, what can we do to intentionally design a system so that more children on the spectrum can use it?